It claims to show a screenshot of a 2002 episode of The Simpsons that eerily mirrors real-life events. It shows Donald Trump touching a glowing orb with two Middle Eastern-looking men.
Not everything The Simpsons gets eerily right is about the distant future. Sometimes it's about this year. No fortune tellers, no time machines, just a 30-minute episode, a yellow family, and a storyline that hits a little too close. It's not about presidents, pandemics, or submarines this time. What The Simpsons may have quietly exposed in 2024 is a shift so fundamental it has experts, educators, and tech leaders on edge in 2025. A change not in politics or pop culture, but in what it means to matter. Sound far-fetched? That's what we thought, until the credits rolled. Springfield and the future it predicted. For over 3 decades, The Simpsons has been more than a long-running cartoon. It has become a pop culture weather vane. First airing in 1989, the show has managed to remain socially relevant by continually adapting its satire to reflect current events. But what separates The Simpsons from other shows isn't just its sharp commentary, it's the uncanny sense that it sometimes gets ahead of reality. From tech inventions to political upheavals, The Simpsons episodes often resurface years later when something eerily similar happens in the real world, raising eyebrows and sparking online debates. Many argue that the show's predictions are less about fortune-telling and more about reading the room early. Its writers, many of whom have academic backgrounds in mathematics, philosophy, and history, don't pull ideas from thin air. Instead, they extrapolate social, economic, and technological trends to their logical, sometimes absurd, conclusions. That makes the show a kind of creative lab for testing ideas before society gets there. While other shows focus on parody in the present, The Simpsons has built a reputation for imagining futures that often don't feel that far off. This approach has made the show a target of modern-day internet myth-making. Entire YouTube channels and Reddit threads are dedicated to dissecting past episodes, frame by frame, looking for hidden predictions. In some cases, viewers claim to have found events predicted years before they occurred, like the Trump presidency, smartwatch tech, or viral outbreaks. Even when these connections are coincidental, the pattern is hard to ignore. The series has touched almost every aspect of modern life, so it's not surprising that some storylines eventually align with reality. But what makes them stand out is how specific and timely they often seem. So, as fans buzz over a new 2024 episode that may foreshadow an event expected in 2025, it's worth asking, is The Simpsons simply good at guessing, or are we catching up to the future it's already sketched out? The show's enduring influence may lie not in prophecy, but in its ability to observe culture so precisely that its satire turns into speculation, and then, occasionally, into truth. The real question might not be whether it predicts the future, but whether we're just slow to recognize the present it's been pointing to all along. And just when you think it can't get more surreal, one episode takes our obsession with escaping reality to an unsettling new level. Virtual reality becomes actual reality. In the 2016 episode Friends and Family, Professor Frink introduces a high-tech virtual reality headset that allows the people of Springfield to escape into immersive fantasy worlds. On the surface, it's a light-hearted subplot about escapism, but nearly a decade later, the scene feels less like satire and more like foreshadowing. With the launch of Apple's Vision Pro in early 2024, an advanced mixed reality device offering real-time spatial computing, the parallels are impossible to ignore. As real-world VR technology begins integrating into mainstream life, the Springfield experiment is starting to look like a trial run for our own digital future. What's striking about The Simpsons' depiction isn't just the existence of the technology, but how people interact with it. In the episode, Springfield citizens quickly become absorbed in their virtual worlds, preferring fantasy relationships and idealized environments over messy real life. This mirrors growing societal concerns that as VR devices become more sophisticated, users may increasingly disconnect from the physical world. While Apple promotes the Vision Pro as a productivity and communication tool, Early user feedback already hints at its potential to blur the lines between reality and simulation, raising questions about mental health, attention spans, and real-world social bonds. The episode also captures a subtle but important theme: the commercialization of personal experience. In Friends and Family, the virtual reality system isn't just about fun. It's used to simulate the perfect nuclear family for Mr. Burns, effectively renting out The Simpsons as VR avatars. This taps into a relevant 2025 debate: how much of our lives, identities, and relationships are becoming commodified through technology. With the rise of digital twins, virtual influencers, and metaverse platforms, the idea of selling idealized versions of ourselves is no longer fictional. It's a growing business model, and The Simpsons seems to have seen it coming. As tech giants race to build more immersive worlds, The Simpsons reminds us that the issue isn't just the gadgets themselves, it's how they reshape human behavior. The episode doesn't critique the tech directly. Instead, it shows how quickly society adapts to artificial realities, often without questioning the consequences. In 2025, with virtual and augmented reality poised to expand rapidly, this warning feels timely. Are we embracing tools that enhance our lives, or trading in our real-world challenges for curated simulations? It's not clear yet, but The Simpsons may have already given us a glimpse of what that choice could look like. Rise of the Machines. In that 2012 episode, Robot, Mr. Burns replaces the entire staff at the Springfield nuclear power plant with advanced robots in an effort to cut costs. Initially, the idea seems efficient. Machines work non-stop, never complain, and don't require salaries. But things quickly spiral out of control, and the town faces a full-blown unemployment crisis. Over a decade later, this episode feels less like satire and more like a reflection of growing fears in 2025, as automation and artificial intelligence increasingly disrupt traditional workplaces. The parallels with current trends are becoming hard to ignore. Tools like OpenAI's ChatGPT, Midjourney, and other generative AI systems are being adopted rapidly across industries, from customer service to design and software development. Major companies, including Amazon and Walmart, continue to implement automation in logistics and retail, replacing tasks once done by humans. A recent McKinsey report estimates that up to 30% of work hours in the US could be automated by the end of the decade. The Simpsons' exaggerated scenario of total job replacement suddenly doesn't seem so far-fetched. What's especially relevant about the AEA robot episode is how it explores the broader consequences of automation, not just on jobs, but on community identity and mental health. In Springfield, displaced workers struggle with a loss of purpose, a theme that economists and sociologists are now treating as urgent. As AI systems become more capable, workers in creative and technical fields are asking new questions. What's left for humans to do? How do we stay relevant when algorithms can outperform us at tasks we once considered uniquely ours? This episode also raises ethical concerns around unchecked corporate power. Mr. Burns doesn't consult the town before automating. He acts purely in the interest of profit. Similarly, in today's real-world tech landscape, decisions about AI deployment are often made in boardrooms with limited oversight or public input. The Simpsons' version of automation chaos exaggerates for comedic effect, but it also offers a warning. As 2025 unfolds, and as governments scramble to catch up with regulation, the show's message lands with new urgency. Just because we can automate everything doesn't mean we should. And if we do, we must ask, what happens to everyone left behind? A war nobody wants to talk about. In a now widely discussed episode of The Simpsons, Lisa Simpson becomes president following a chaotic Trump administration, only to reveal that the US is struggling with a massive financial debt, specifically to China. What was originally written as a joke about reckless leadership has taken on a more ominous tone as global tensions rise in 2024 and into 2025. While the episode never mentions a military conflict outright, it hints at severe diplomatic consequences stemming from financial dependency and political instability. In today's climate, those implications feel unsettlingly plausible. Real-world analysts have raised alarms over increasing strain in US-China relations, citing issues ranging from Taiwan and cybersecurity to economic policy and global influence. The 2024 US election only added more pressure, with rhetoric around national defense, trade imbalances, and technological competition heating up. The episode's portrayal of China as a looming financial power casts a long shadow over current discussions, particularly as both nations shift defense postures and expand military budgets. The question isn't whether The Simpsons predicted a war, it's whether the writers intuitively picked up on early signals of a confrontation long before it became mainstream concern. What makes this storyline particularly striking is how it connects economic decisions to geopolitical outcomes. The show frames the debt crisis not just as a budgetary problem, but as a strategic vulnerability. That framing aligns with present-day concerns in Washington, where discussions about reducing reliance on Chinese manufacturing and protecting intellectual property have reached new urgency. A government default scenario, once considered far-fetched, is now debated seriously in policy circles as a potential trigger for international fallout. While The Simpsons exaggerated the setting for comedic effect, it captured a key point. Debt, when politicized, becomes more than an economic issue. It becomes a national security risk. In 2025, this old episode feels newly relevant, not because it predicted a specific event, but because it reflected an emerging anxiety about global power shifts. Could financial instability truly escalate into a larger conflict? Are we seeing the early signs of confrontation now, hidden in trade sanctions, diplomatic rebukes, and military drills? These are no longer just theoretical questions. As viewers re-examine Lisa's fictional presidency, they're finding less satire and more foresight. The Simpsons didn't draw a roadmap to war, but it may have warned us what happens when short-term politics ignore long-term consequences. Food safety, zombies, and fiction's edge. In the 2009 Treehouse of Horror episode, The Simpsons presented one of its most absurd yet hauntingly relevant storylines: a zombie outbreak caused by tainted burgers. Springfield residents turn into flesh-eating munchers after consuming fast food made from contaminated meat. At first glance, the segment plays as classic Halloween parody, but in 2025, amid increasing concerns about food safety and biotech regulation, the episode now reads as a cautionary tale about modern agriculture and the unintended consequences of food innovation. Recent years have seen the rise of lab-grown meat, gene-edited crops, and synthetic proteins, all marketed as sustainable alternatives to traditional farming. However, these advances also raise new questions about regulation, long-term health impacts, and transparency. In 2024, global food safety agencies began ramping up reviews of biotech products, and in 2025, debate continues over how these developments should be monitored. The Simpsons may not have predicted a literal zombie apocalypse, but its story mirrors public anxiety around food supply chains that feel increasingly complex and less understandable to the average consumer. What's particularly relevant is how the episode reflects panic, not just about what we eat, but how information spreads. In the storyline, misinformation and hysteria escalate the crisis, leading to chaos that outpaces the actual threat. That dynamic has real-world parallels. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted how quickly food-related rumors about shortages, contamination, or treatment fads can go viral and influence consumer behavior. In 2025, similar waves of online speculation now swirl around genetically modified foods and lab-based meat products. This environment of uncertainty makes it difficult to distinguish between science, skepticism, and fear-driven narratives. Ultimately, The Simpsons didn't invent the idea of foodborne catastrophe, but it did tap into a cultural unease that has only intensified. The zombie burger episode was a grotesque exaggeration, yet it captured a key point. When food production becomes too opaque, people begin to imagine the worst. In a world where meat can be printed in labs and sold in supermarkets, public trust becomes just as crucial as innovation. If that trust erodes, even satire starts to feel prophetic. So as debates around biotech continue in 2025, The Simpsons' absurd scenario remains strangely grounded, a reminder that food safety is no laughing matter, even when it's wrapped in cartoon humor. Just when you think things couldn't get more bizarre on land, The Simpsons takes us deep underwater, where another eerie coincidence was waiting to resurface. The submarine foreshadowing. In two separate episodes, Les Deux font le pair, 2006, and Un Homer à la mer, 1998, The Simpsons depicted Homer trapped in submarines during deep-sea missions gone wrong. At the time, both storylines were framed as farcical underwater adventures, with exaggerated peril and classic Simpsons absurdity. But after the tragic 2023 Titan submersible disaster, in which 5 individuals died while attempting to visit the Titanic wreck, these older episodes took on a chilling new dimension. Fans online quickly resurfaced clips pointing to eerie similarities between the fictional escapades and the real-life catastrophe. The Titan incident involved a submersible operated by OceanGate, a private company offering deep-sea tourism. Despite warnings from experts about safety and structural integrity, the mission went ahead, ending in an implosion that shocked the world. This mirrors themes in both Simpsons episodes, where risky ocean exploration is carried out with limited oversight and questionable preparation. While The Simpsons didn't predict specific technical failures, it accurately captured the growing human fascination with extreme exploration, and the arrogance that sometimes drives it. The writer's ability to parody this trend years before it reached public consciousness now feels strangely prescient. What makes these episodes more than just coincidental entertainment is how they reflect a broader cultural anxiety about technology pushing into unknown frontiers. As commercial space travel, AI development, and underwater tourism grow more ambitious, the risks involved also multiply. In the 1998 episode, Homer is part of a Navy training exercise that quickly spirals into chaos. In 2006, he takes an ill-advised dive to impress a long-lost son. Both plots highlight the hubris and naivety of average individuals and institutions when venturing beyond their depth. That message resonates strongly in 2025, as conversations around safety regulation in exploratory tech continue. The connection between The Simpsons and real-world tragedies isn't about predicting headlines, it's about revealing patterns in human behavior. These submarine episodes serve as satire, yes, but also as warnings. When novelty and prestige outpace responsibility, disaster can follow. In the wake of the Titan incident, regulators have begun revisiting safety protocols for extreme tourism ventures. And as new deep-sea missions and space flights are planned, it's worth remembering what The Simpsons has long implied. Sometimes the biggest threat isn't the unknown itself, but how blindly we rush into it. What was once cartoon absurdity is now a sobering reflection of modern ambition and its consequences. The symphonic shock. In the 1996 Simpsons episode Homerpalooza, a throwaway gag features the rap group Cypress Hill accidentally booking the London Symphony Orchestra, possibly while high. It was absurd, surreal, and funny because of how unlikely it seemed. A hardcore hip-hop group performing with one of the world's most prestigious classical ensembles. Fast forward nearly 3 decades, and in 2024, this exact collaboration happened. Cypress Hill took the stage at London's Royal Albert Hall, backed by the London Symphony Orchestra. The moment didn't just entertain fans. It reignited interest in the show's uncanny knack for absurd ideas that somehow become real. What made this moment so striking wasn't just the fact that the event occurred, but the specificity of it. Unlike general trends or loosely related themes, this was nearly a scene-for-scene realization of a Simpsons gag. The performance was even introduced by the orchestra with a nod to the original joke. What began as a parody of genre collisions turned into a celebration of how music culture has evolved. In 1996, rap and classical music occupied opposite ends of the cultural spectrum. In 2024, genre fusion is not only common, it's celebrated as a sign of artistic innovation. This unexpected crossover also reflects a larger shift in how the music industry is reshaping itself in the streaming era. With digital platforms blurring boundaries between musical styles, collaborations that once seemed ridiculous are now commercially viable and even critically acclaimed. Projects like Metallica with the San Francisco Symphony or Kendrick Lamar performing with full orchestras have shown that fans are open to more experimental performances. The Simpsons may not have meant to predict this trend, but its comedic instincts picked up on a future where cultural mashups become a new norm. More importantly, the Cypress Hill LSO performance underlines The Simpsons' deep understanding of pop culture's long game. The show often exaggerates to make a point, but in doing so, it exposes creative tensions and possibilities that might take years to play out. This isn't about prophecy, it's about perceptiveness. The Simpsons didn't just guess that a rap group and a symphony would share a stage. It understood that the barriers between high and low culture were already eroding. In 2025, that erosion is complete, and what was once a punchline has become a sign of how far we've come. Elon Musk, the prophet of disruption. In the 2015 Simpsons episode, The Musk Who Fell to Earth, Elon Musk descends upon Springfield and promptly throws the town and its economy into chaos. What began as a satire of the billionaire inventor's larger-than-life persona now reads more like an unsettling case study. The episode depicted Musk as a brilliant but reckless disruptor whose grand visions drained the town's resources and left behind confusion and instability. Nearly a decade later, that fictional arc mirrors growing concerns about Musk's real-world impact in 2025, from his influence over transportation and media to neuroscience and space travel. In 2024, Neuralink, one of Musk's most ambitious ventures, began its first human trials of brain-computer interface implants. Though hailed as a milestone in neurotechnology, the project has sparked ethical debates around consent, privacy, and the potential for unintended consequences. Meanwhile, X, formerly Twitter, which Musk took over in 2022, continues to be a case study in volatile leadership, with rapid policy changes, layoffs, and user backlash shaping its reputation. Musk's unpredictability has become part of the brand, something The Simpsons captured early with its portrayal of a genius uninterested in boundaries or stability. The episode also hints at a deeper tension, how visionary figures can both inspire and destabilize. In Springfield, Musk introduces futuristic innovations, but fails to account for their human cost. That theme resonates in 2025 as Starship, the spacecraft developed by Musk's SpaceX, edges closer to a crewed mission to Mars. The scale of Musk's ambitions is unprecedented, but so is the concentration of power behind them. His companies affect markets, governments, and millions of lives, often without external checks. The Simpsons may have exaggerated his reach for comedic effect, but the essence of its warning holds true. When innovation moves faster than accountability, systems start to crack. More than a caricature, the episode serves as a mirror. It didn't mock Musk simply for being eccentric. It critiqued a culture that rewards disruption without demanding responsibility. In 2025, that message feels more relevant than ever. Musk's ventures continue to shape the frontier of technology and society, but at what cost? The Simpsons offered no answer, only a reminder that unchecked ambition, no matter how well-intentioned, can upend more than it improves. And now, with real-world consequences unfolding across industries, Musk touches. The line between satire and foresight feels thinner than ever. What elevates the episode's relevance now is how it exposes the fragility of systems built around singular visionaries. Musk isn't just an engineer or entrepreneur, he's a symbol of how modern society places immense trust in individual disruption, often without fully grasping the ripple effects. In Springfield, as in reality, the promise of progress overshadows the need for safeguards. As we head deeper into 2025, with Neuralink pushing neural boundaries and Starship redefining space ambition, The Simpsons leaves us with an uneasy question. What happens when innovation is idolized, but its consequences arrive faster than we're prepared to manage? The Titan Behind the Curtain. In the 1998 episode When You Dish Upon a Star, The Simpsons made a blink-and-you'll-miss-it joke, a sign reading 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company. At the time, it was clearly intended as satire, a playful jab at Hollywood's growing appetite for consolidation. But in 2019, that gag became a headline when Disney officially acquired 21st Century Fox for $71.3 billion, one of the largest media mergers in history. What was once a throwaway line became another entry in the growing list of Simpsons predictions. But perhaps the more important question is, what trend was the show really pointing toward? That gag didn't just foresee a specific deal. It captured a deeper shift in the entertainment industry, one that's accelerating in 2025. In today's landscape, media consolidation is no longer shocking. It's expected. Legacy studios are folding into larger entities, and the competition between tech giants like Amazon, Apple, and Netflix has turned content into intellectual property battlegrounds. Streaming platforms are consolidating, canceling underperforming shows, and prioritizing algorithm-driven franchises over diverse storytelling. What The Simpsons hinted at in 1998 now defines the cultural moment. Fewer players, bigger stakes, and less creative risk. What makes the current trend concerning is how it intersects with another force, generative AI. In 2025, studios are exploring AI-written scripts, deepfake actors, and automated animation, all in the name of efficiency. This isn't just about mergers anymore, it's about control over how stories are created, distributed, and consumed. Critics warn that this could lead to homogenized media ecosystems where a handful of companies dictate both content and form. The 1998 joke may have been about Disney's dominance, but the real warning might be broader. What happens when corporate consolidation meets machine-driven content production? As viewers revisit that old Simpsons gag, it no longer feels like just a coincidence. It feels like a breadcrumb. The show didn't predict every detail of media's future, but it understood the pressures pushing the industry towards centralization. In 2025, with studio layoffs, AI-generated content, and streaming fragmentation making headlines, the cultural consequences of consolidation are clearer than ever. Are we witnessing the end of creative plurality? Or is this just another cycle in entertainment's evolution? The Simpsons may not offer an answer, but its decades-old satire reminds us to keep watching what's happening behind the curtain because the real story might not be on screen. What makes this moment especially sobering is how invisible the shift has become. Audiences are still watching, subscribing, and scrolling, even as the diversity of voices behind the content quietly narrows. The Simpsons' offhand joke about a media behemoth wasn't just clever. It tapped into a future where entertainment feels personalized, yet increasingly pre-programmed. In 2025, the real risk isn't just monopolization, it's normalization. When fewer companies hold the keys to what we see and how it's made, the line between creativity and calculation begins to blur. And, as The Simpsons quietly warned years ago, by the time we notice, the curtain may already be closed. As the fight for creative control plays out in boardrooms, the next episode takes the struggle to the racetrack, where the real challenger isn't who you'd expect. Racing toward relevance. In the 2024 episode Lisa Gets an F1, The Simpsons delivered one of its most timely and unsettling plots to date. An AI racing simulator not only beats every human competitor, but also sparks a town-wide existential crisis. As Springfield watches its best drivers replaced by an unfeeling algorithm, the story quickly shifts from humor to reflection. By the end, the question isn't who won the race, it's whether human effort still matters in a world where machines do everything better. That's no longer just a cartoon plot. In 2025, it mirrors real-world concerns about AI's expanding role across all domains of life. The episode aired just as global industries entered a critical phase of AI integration. In sports, medicine, finance, and education, machine learning systems are now outperforming human experts in tasks once considered deeply personal or skill-based. The Springfield storyline, centered on racing, is a metaphor for a wider shift, a culture redefining what it means to be useful in an era where automation can drive, write, compose, and even create visual art. The F1 simulator may have been fictional, but it represents a very real fear that humans are no longer the gold standard for excellence. The episode also touches on the emotional and psychological fallout of this transition. Lisa, typically the intellectual and moral center of the show, finds herself questioning the point of trying when a program can exceed her in logic and speed. This reflects a growing trend in 2025, a cultural anxiety not just about job loss, but about identity erosion. What happens when value is defined by efficiency alone? If machines are always faster, more accurate, and less prone to error, how do humans assert relevance? These aren't just theoretical concerns. They're now being debated in classrooms, boardrooms, and government agencies worldwide. As nations begin to craft policies around AI ethics and regulation, The Simpsons adds a layer of cultural commentary that resonates deeply. The episode doesn't argue against AI, it critiques a world that fails to plan for its societal consequences. The 2024 plot may have been framed around Formula One racing, but in 2025, it feels like a snapshot of the broader moment. Are we steering this technology or just being carried by it? The real question raised by Lisa gets an F1 isn't whether machines will replace us, it's whether we're ready to redefine what makes us human. The unsettling brilliance of Lisa gets an F1 lies in how it reframes a familiar race, not as a competition of speed, but of purpose. The episode quietly asks what happens when the finish line keeps moving, and we're no longer the ones setting the pace. In 2025, as algorithms increasingly make decisions once reserved for people, the episode's metaphor gains urgency. Are we racing against machines, or against the fear of becoming obsolete? The Simpsons doesn't offer a solution, but by placing its most thoughtful character in the driver's seat of this crisis, it forces us to consider a future where staying human may be our only real win. The episode subtly mirrors our own struggle to find meaning in a world rapidly reshaped by technology. As Lisa grapples with expectations she can't control, viewers are left to wonder if adaptability, not achievement, will define the next chapter of human progress. If The Simpsons really is showing us the future, what else might we be missing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your take. Don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button for more eerie predictions, and tap the bell so you never miss what might come true next. And if you're ready for another jaw-dropping connection, go ahead and watch the next video on your screen. You won't believe what's in that one.